Hello and welcome to Blender Clinic. Today I'm going to be doing a little tour of a rig I've been working on for Bluezoo's Bootcamp program. So this video is primarily meant for the students on that, but if you are curious as to see features of one of my rigs, then, you know, great, welcome. So I guess the first thing I should do is actually get that rig in my theme. So I'm going to link to the folder, and the current one is ch_robot_rigging_v000.blend. Go into there, find the collection, Robo Master Collection. There we go. So there he is. Next thing you're going to want to do is make library override, so just search for it using spacebar or F3 depending on how you've got your computer keys set up in Blender. Make library override, and that gives us a controllable rig. So the problem is that unless you have bone layers, the add-on by my good friend Thin, then you won't be able to access the rig UI unless you go to a text editor, you open this Python file that is saved next to the rig. And I'm just going to go to, I've already run this, but yeah, you hit play and it will make this rig UI appear in the end panel under item. Okay, so that's how that's done. And move that back to Outliner. Great. So there's a feature or two on this which I don't think are going to work, but or work as I'd hoped, because I only finished this late last night. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So this rig UI allows us to see a bunch of stuff. So we can hide and reveal various bones in the rig. You've got the first three up here. These are deformer bones, these are target bones, and these are mechanical bones. They're all behind the scenes stuff. They're not controls. If you're an animator, you don't need to see them. Then we've got the UI panel. This gives us options which we can change on how the rig behaves. More on that later. And then we've got our routes. This has two routes, an Uber route and a regular route. So if you're animating the route for a walk cycle or whatever, then you use the regular route. If you then need to reposition it, rescale it, or re-rotate it in the scene, then that's what the Uber route's for. Never animate on the Uber route. It's there for global transformations, to fix stuff when, you know, or to correct stuff, or to reuse and recycle animation. You can, of course, in object mode, grab a rig and move it around that way, but rigs are far more prone to break when object mode is used to make transformations. Sometimes it's just smarter to use the Uber route. Anyway, we'll come back to the rocket effects. We've then got torso controls. We've got this main control torso bone. As you can see, the IK hands are not following it, but if we go to our UI panel and we find these IK hands, we move them, then now it will follow the torso. Of course, you could just use the root bone and it will give you exactly the same behavior. But, you know, you might want to do it for you know, different reasons. And then we've got our hip bone, which allows us to wiggle our rocket and stretch it out. Great stuff. And then we've got our stretch and squash, or squash and stretch control. So yeah, you can do lots of lovely bits where you might want your character to move that way, and then during that you could have him squash, and then as it ends you can have him stretch and settle. And give it some organic motion in that manner. So, you know, I mean, who am I to tell you how to animate? But that's the idea. Don't shoot. Anyway, so that's your torso controls. Then we've got our finger controls, and these are, you know, they're fiddly, but they allow you to absolutely finesse the fingers. What's easier to use are these hand controls. You can just grab them and scale them, and as long as you've got individual origins on when you do it, yeah, all of them will scale together. The thumbs could do with a little more love, actually. But there we go. The other thing you can do with these is you can, you can rotate them to rotate where they're coming from on the hand. And you can, well, at least with this side, you can use G and you can just translate them as well if you should require that. I will unlock it on the other side because for some reason they're not locked on that side. I suppose we could just do it. No, I'll have to do that in the link file. Not a problem. Anyway, so yeah, those are your thingies. Thingies! Then we've got arms. This character is 90% arms, so, by default, we have the IK arms enabled. So that's, you just push and pull this hand around, and then you move the elbow to define where it goes. Standard IK stuff. But you also have these tweak layers where you can just take... This is my signature move. I just do this on all the rigs until everyone is bored of it. But you've got these controls which allow you to, refine the curve of the arm, and and add secondary animation to it as well. A little bit of wobble of his biceps, or bingo wings, depending on where you're from. Yeah, so there we go. That's that. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that these tweak bones are shared by the IK and the FK. What that means is, if I'm just going to turn off relationship lines. I hate that stuff. Oh God, what is going on? You can select these, move over to FK, and now we've got the FK bones, which, behave as you would expect. And then again, you've got these tweak bones that you can use, but they are shared. So if you move between IK and FK, those tweaks will stay applied. Okay. Obviously, you can clear them and do whatever you need to, but yeah, just so you're aware. So this is like a Bezier style control overlay on top of the FK and IK controls. The other thing is shoulders. So I can rotate the shoulder. Do that one to FK. So we've got this shoulder, and it will affect the IK and the FK. But with the FK, if I change the shoulder follow, you can see that now it's following the rotation of the shoulder. So I'm just going to do this. So, the shoulder, as you rotate it, it goes with it. Or you could do, if by default, when that switches down, you just get that. So the shoulder moves up and down, and, the arm doesn't rotate with it. But if you move the control up, then the whole arm rotates with the shoulder. It's useful for shrugging and stuff like that. So yeah, shoulder controls. Now you might have noticed this object here has appeared, and this is activated by this rocket control. So at the top, the flame is invisible, and then as you bring it in, it will grow slightly. And this flame is controlled by this thing. It's empty. So you have to animate the empty through the scene. What I like to do is, and you have to do this. You have to do this in the linked file. I did try doing this in the original, in the file that you link from. Unfortunately, it doesn't follow over. But we could copy his new driver on the plate, the frame number. So as this plays, this number goes up. Yeah, we can take that and we can. Oops. Paste that. Where's it gone? Copy as new driver. Where's my paste driver gone? Delete keyframes, clear keyframes. Oh, there is a driver on it. Paste driver. There we go. So I'll paste that driver over it because the driver which was in there wasn't working. So I'm going to have to delete that in the base. But you can paste that driver in there. You can edit the driver if it's going too fast. So as the frame advances, it moves this empty, and that is tied to the global distortion or the object-based distortion on this flame object. This flame object will probably change as the students develop it and change the shaders and do all that stuff. This is more of a placeholder than anything, so I don't know why I'm wasting too much time on it. But there we go. So I've got a feeling that's going the wrong way. I'm absolutely going to have to change that. I mean, the other thing we could do is delete single driver, paste driver, edit driver. Oh, it won't let me change anything. I think it's because it's locked to the scene. Weirdness. Okay, anyway. So that exists. If we turn on the rendering, you'll see kind of what this looks like. It's kind of using a Fresnel effect and some glow. Need to put a light in here so we can actually see what we're doing. Interestingly, my eyes seem to have disappeared, which is alarming. We'll figure this out. So yeah, as you can see, this is part of my testing process as much as it is doing a tour of the rig and how it works. But yeah, so that's the rocket. The rocket also comes with curve controls. That's weird. You're not supposed to be able to select that. Another thing I'll have to change. So yeah, you can stretch this out and change the curve of it. And whilst that looks horrendous in the viewport, it does taper off fairly gracefully. And what you can do with this is if you put it, you know, you've got the root there, and then you've got your torso control, you can move this. And you can get these nice graceful sort of curves of the flame. And again, it operates much like the limbs. You know, so you've got this knee pole essentially. And then if I hit play, you can see it animates. Yeah, so you've got this this rocket booster. Whee! Lots of versatility in there. We'll need to address some issues with it, but you know, whatever. So moving on, eyes. We've got our eye mask. This will move it all around. Then each one has an individual control. I wonder if that was based because maybe the eyes aren't rendering for a different reason. Very unusual. Anyway, so you've got the eyes there, and what you can do is move these blink controls up and down. You can rotate them. And get some different effects. And then you've got this control to sort of pull it out and widen it. And of course you can rotate and scale and, you know, further deform using that master control, the eye control there. So, you know, the eyes are quite versatile. And then we've also got this, which I nearly didn't put in, but you can sort of move the visor around a little bit, and you can deform it because he doesn't have a smile, I thought it might be nice to have, you know, a little bit of control and be able to make these little jelly bean expressions. But also for smearing and stuff in the frame, I thought it might be quite useful to have. It is not super stable. It will not tolerate a great deal of abuse, but it is there should you need it. Yes, should you need it. So there we go. So that's what it all looks like. I need to go and figure out why those eyes aren't rendering. But other than that, and fix those fingers, and yeah, all that jazz. So I'm going to go and take a look at that now. But that's the basic functionality of the robot. I hope you enjoy playing with him. Whee! Cool.